Hey there you guys, this is Kyle Hernandez from kylesdev.com. In the last video, in part 1, we learned about the introduction to JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and we looked at HTML, CSS, and JavaScript using Facebook. This is the second part of the tutorial. We're still going to be understanding of all of what JavaScript is, but this tutorial we're going to be taking a look at the different types of frameworks that JavaScript has. We're going to be understanding ECMAScript and how it applies to JavaScript. And then we'll learn the JavaScript tools that we'll be using to build applications to wrap up the video. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Alright, so the different JavaScript frameworks. JavaScript is a front-end framework to build applications, which we, or in this case you guys, will be building in your guys' own hands and on applications with me in these video tutorials which you guys are watching. JavaScript also contains the frameworks HTML, CSS, which we talked about in the last tutorial, which make the app look nice. With HTML format with text to show, and CSS is the style of the app to make the text look nice to show up in a web browser. To make the functions work, we use JavaScript. Node.js is one of them to which we will be installing, which is a framework of JavaScript. JavaScript contains other frameworks like Angular, Vue, and React, which we covered in the last playlist in the Speedy Fingers game. Using applications we call TypeScript applications with front-end applications. So JavaScript could be front-end and back-end, in case you guys don't know. So front-end web development. To the left of the screen, you'll see here, front-end web development is the development of the graphical user interface of a website so that users can view and interact with that website. When I say front-end web development is the graphical user interface, I'm going to break it one by one so it makes more sense as we break it down. When I say graphical user interface, what I mean is when you look at a browser, you'll see that there's some sort of logo or let's say some text with some styling of CSS to function out of JavaScript. Like I said in the last tutorial, I said rock, paper, scissors. You will say there's a rock, paper, and scissors there. And then it'll generate the function of player and computer. Who's going to play the game, who's going to win, who's going to lose, and that sort of thing. So, view and interact, that means like playing the game. It generates a score. It draws, or like I said, who loses, who wins. Alright, so for backend development refers to the server side of development where you primarily focus on how the site works. This is similar to front end, but the only difference about backend is these frameworks right here, React, Vue.js, and Angular. If you guys look at my Vue.js playlist where we did a Speedy Fingers game, that's an example of a backend framework because you know how we created the program to make it work, where you click on it and it'll make the green block appear and it'll generate the score. Backend development is just looking how it looks like. What does it do? Not necessarily looking for the color and such and how it generates the functions. Just look like basically, yeah, the functions, but not how it actually codes it out. Just basically what I said, you gotta wait for it and then it appears 2 to 7,000 milliseconds and it will be there. It also does this because people don't want to wait for a split second and it appears. It's going to come out in a certain time. That's why a set timeout function is used in JavaScript to create set timeouts to make users get used to different times when something appears. And another thing about the game is whenever people want to play again, you can click the play again button. And to start, you can click the blue play button. So that's a bit about the different JavaScript frameworks that JavaScript has. Now we're ready for the evolution of EScript, which is ECMAScript. What is ECMAScript with JavaScript? ECMAScript, which is basically the foundation of JavaScript, which was founded in 1997, is a JavaScript standard meant to ensure the interoperability of web pages across different web browsers. Known as ECMA 262, known as the file system handler, with special editions coming soon, ECMA 12 yields to June 2022. So basically, ECMAScript, like so, is the founder of JavaScript or EScript. You will see here in 1997, this is where JavaScript developers started using ECMAScript or EScript. You guys will see the labels here, ES1, which is ECMAScript 1. In 1997, it generates on and on. But here's the gap right here, 10 years from 1999 to 2009, it was a 2 ECMAScript difference. And then this day forward, we're using just based on the year, like ECMAScript 2015, 2016, ECMA 2017. And like I said, ECMA 12, it's similar to ES 2022, but that's just how it works. Like I said, it's just the foundation of JavaScript and how people can code inside the tools that we'll be needing to install here in a bit. You can just imagine how many users used JavaScript back then until now, or Visual Studio Code back then until now. So that's a bit about the ECMAScript and EScript. Now we're going to be talking about the JavaScript tools and installation links. So we'll be using these tools. We'll be using Visual Studio Code, Node.js. Be sure to use the latest version when you guys are installing these tools that are on the slide. You guys can go to this link also, shown on the screen. You can head to code.visualstudio.com/docs/setup/Mac. There's not really instructions to install Visual Studio Code. All you just need to do is click the blue download button right here. Sorry, I'm blocking the way. The blue download button right here to the top right of the screen. I already have mine installed for Mac, and you guys can install yours for Windows, or you guys can go on Windows. Similar setup and similar download process, and once you're done with that, you can head back to the stuff with me. Now we need Node.js for installation. Like I said, Node.js is a framework, a front-end framework for JavaScript. Now, when you guys are done installing Node.js, feel free to follow along with me. But for you guys needing to download Node.js right here, feel free to pause the video and take some time. Just same thing as Visual Studio Code. And once you guys are done with that, we just need to install one last thing, which is the Vue CLI installation, which you guys saw in the last tutorial, or the last video, I must say, because in the last tutorial, the last playlist where we did on Speedy Fingers app. Feel free to watch that. This one, you guys need to have some installation instructions down here. You guys can do one of those. You guys don't need to install Yarn Vue version. You guys can do that. And take some time if you need to. Once you guys are done, you can follow me what I'm going to do to see if you do have it installed. This is for the people who are done installing these tools. What we can do is go to Terminal or PowerShell if you guys are using Linux, Windows. I'm using my Mac, so I'm using Terminal. What we're going to do is type these commands. This might seem familiar from where we created a Speedy Fingers game. What we can do is type. This is only for Node.js and Vue, because the Vue CLI, it's because for the actual Visual Studio Code, you don't really need to do find a version of it. It says in docs if you guys saw it. Mine was version 1.65 for the latest. What you can do now is type node _ or dash by its version. You could do _ version. You guys will see a different version because you guys installed it at a different time. I did mine last year, so mine's a different version. So what we can do now is type Vue version, same thing. It should give me a version, the Vue CLI 4.5.13. Good. I hope you guys got that installed, and I hope this tutorial was helpful. In the next tutorial, we're going to be talking about where to find my starter code inside of GitHub. And we're going to be talking about basically the tools that we're going to be installing inside of Visual Studio Code, because there will be some tools that we'll be needing to install inside of Visual Studio Code. And learning to start writing some JavaScript code. Hope that makes you guys excited. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to my YouTube channel down below. And I'll see you guys in a few seconds. Bye now.